talk about your experience and your opinion on high achieving and AP programs?
Can I keep walking? I know this, hopefully you can hear this okay, but okay. We talk a lot about those students who really struggle in school. You know, we're accountable. We have to make sure that they're passing and they're achieving, and that's critical. It's important. It's critical also that we put an emphasis on those high achieving students because we have a lot of them. And if we don't challenge them, they get bored. They never reach the level that they're capable of. So, we have to meet the needs of the students who struggle, no question, but we have to develop programs that will challenge our students to go to higher heights. But there's another group of people that I put myself in, and I call them the backbones. And it's a big group of kids. They're great kids. They do a good job in school. They get decent grades. They come every day. They're respectful. But they don't get a lot of attention. So one of the things that, because we take it for granted, they're good kids. Hey, thanks for coming today. Appreciate it. You know, great to see you again. But we need to, as we're looking at programs moving forward, we need to look at those programs that will also show that we are doing things to challenge them. So when we're meeting the needs of every student, we just can't focus at the two ends of the spectrum. We also have to be making sure that we're meeting the needs of those students in the middle as well. And that's hard. I was a high school English teacher. When I first started teaching, I taught to the middle. I had a book, a short story. We were reading a short story. I taught it to all. I knew when I was in there that I had some of the kids that read that short story in 5 minutes. And they were bored to tears. I had other kids that cared less about that story. They were pretending they were reading it and never did. And I knew that as a teacher. And you had all these kids in the middle that were trying hard to do the right thing because they're backbones. They do the right thing. And so it's just critical that we, in terms of our differentiating our instructional practice, that we are doing the best we can to meet needs of kids. And that's not easy, and it's not always going to look the same every day. But those are things that we need to continue to talk about because I need to become more familiar with what you're currently doing in this school corporation.
Dr. Mellon, can you explain why both of your former assistant superintendents in the Valparaiso Community School District are also leaving? Or
yes.
have left?
Yes. I will tell you that there are always challenges whenever you're working in a central office capacity, and those relationships that you have with your school board are essential. The two individuals were highly trained and experienced and qualified, and they both took superintendent positions in other school systems. The one, Dr. Rob Hayworth, is now the superintendent in Elkhart, Indiana, a district not too dissimilar to this one. He was a friend of mine, and he has been a friend of mine for over 10 years. So they made decisions, just like I'm making a decision, that we're looking at other opportunities that we think we're better suited for.
Fair enough. Please define your relationship with your current board and how you were able to get approval for specific program initiatives and budgetary changes in light of diminishing sources of revenue.
First of all, the relationship with my current school board, it's my job as superintendent to make recommendations, the best recommendations I can possibly make to them. It's important that I can defend those recommendations to the board, and they have been very thorough in terms of any initiatives that we've implemented. For example, full-day kindergarten did not exist in our school corporation until this year. In last spring, it took roughly 3 months of extensive research and work with our school board to make sure that they understood all of the specifics of full-day kindergarten, all of the benefits and any of the potential drawbacks. So the process that I believe in that's important is that I need a lot of help from our team to develop recommendations that we can bring before you as a school board and our community that we can defend, that will be beneficial to students. And if we don't answer all the questions that you may have, then we may have to come back to the next board meeting and with those answers. So I would expect you to be very thorough, expect us to be thorough, and that's sort of the relationship that I have with my current school board.
How do you currently manage ancillary services, and what measures have you taken to maximize value in those operational areas?
I'm sorry, please repeat that.
How do you currently manage ancillary services, and what measures have you taken to maximize value in those operational areas?
If we define ancillary services as custodial, non-direct student services, right?
That's what I'm assuming from the question.
I'm going to say that. First of all, when I was a high school principal, the most important people to me as a principal in my building was my secretary and my custodian. I mean, they kept me on the straight and narrow. And so everyone's important in our school system, I guess is my point. That we're all part of this team and everyone is important. And so it's something I learned as a principal. You just can't hold certain people at a certain level and take others for granted, because whether you're an instructional aide, you're a custodian, you work in maintenance, you're a bus driver, you're in food service, everyone has a critical role to play. And almost all of those individuals have some level of contact with students. And so it's critical that we're all on the same page, that we value everyone, because everyone can have an impact on our students. Did that answer that question?
It answered kind of how you manage. What measures have you taken to maximize value in those areas would be the second part of the question.
Well, when we did our staff analysis and staff survey, we were really looking hard at not only the hours that they worked and how much they were paid, but we were actually working at job descriptions. So for example, with our instructional aides, we had to reduce the number of aides in the building, so we had to re-look at what was the job description of those aides. So at our elementary levels, for example, we had to make sure that their first priority was student safety. So if they were supervising lunch recess or bus arrival or departure, that was a top priority of our instructional aides. But secondly, then we had to make sure that they're working with individual students to improve student achievement. We're calling them RTI interventionists. So what we did is, to maximize that whole job classification, we restructured their duties to make sure that we could prioritize and make sure student safety was first, and then helping students close achievement gaps is second. So that maybe hopefully that's an example.